Well, ladies and gentlemen, it looks like it is 8:31. So we are ready to roll with this with this not version, with this goodness gracious, what I'm trying to say, with this piece, with this release of the multi of how to build a multi-million dollar family business. And I'm so grateful that you're here with us today because this is one of the pivotal pieces in this series that really helps business owners to wrap their head around what should come first. And so, as we work through this today, if you're new to this series, uh, thank you so much for joining us today because I'm working through building a multi-million dollar business. I'll get to my introduction a little bit in a minute, but working through showing people how to build a multi-million dollar business. I've done this. I do this. It's what I do each and every day, all day long. And so I'm sharing that information with you so that you can know how to do that as well, if it's something that you've ever dreamed of doing. So thank you again for joining us today. And let's get right into what we're going to be talking about today. So somebody says, let's make a family business. Hallelujah. Somebody once has a dream. And then because we are so uh, well meaning, we say we're going to get rich. We're going to do stuff that we really, really love. And because of all of this, and by the way, I come from a Christian background, so just bear with me on this. We're going to honor God with it. So prospering for us is inevitable, right? Negative. The answer to that question, answer to that statement is absolutely not. But so many families get into their family businesses, and because they're well-meaning and they believe what they're doing is honoring God, that somehow they will inevitably become wealthy and this thing will prosper. And that is just not the case. I'm sorry to my Christian brothers and sisters out there who think God's going to prosper you no matter how dumb you may be or how dumb I may be, but it just doesn't work that way. You have to do the required actions in order to prosper. And it goes, if you're well meaning or not well meaning, it still works. So I just kind of want to, at the very beginning of this series, not series, but this release that we're doing today, kind of smash that myth that if I just try hard enough, if I'm just well-meaning enough, if I just honor God in this effort enough, it will just work. And while honoring God is important with the work that you're doing and making sure that you have a good reason behind it and the vision behind it is absolutely necessary, it's not enough to make it work. You must follow the steps. You must implement the practices that cause a thing to prosper in order for it to work. And so, whether or not you're a Christian, whether or not you believe in God and the Bible, this is the content that if you want to build a multi-million dollar business, working with your family, this is the master series that you should be listening to. And I hope that you stick with me throughout each and every one of these lessons because they are so important and you can avoid so many of the mistakes that I've made in the past or that I've just learned from other people's mistakes and made the implementations correctly in my own family business to keep that from happening in to keep that from happening in my family business basically is what I was trying to say. So um I, I can't emphasize it enough. Well-meaning people, even though you're well-meaning, even though you have a dream, if you don't do the right steps, you won't last. Okay. So if you're here, it means you want to do the right steps. So I'm really happy for you. This the reason I have so much. If you hear some passion in my voice, if you hear a little bit of just kind of almost a loss for words at some in some sense, it's because I've seen too many Christian, well-meaning people launch a business and just believe and wish upon a star that it's going to work, and it just doesn't because there are so many elements of business that you have to have in place that have to be working together in perfect synchronization so that your business can prosper. And if they aren't, it will fail and you'll be like, well, I'm a failure, and you will start identifying like, well, or you're saying the market's bad, or it's just not in the cards for us to succeed, or even worse, God didn't want us to succeed. But it really wasn't any of that. It was that you simply didn't make the correct implementations for your business to prosper in time. And the rejection or the juxtaposition to those principles caused you to fail, and the practice is required. So I want to kind of eliminate that as we really jump into this content today. You don't get a pass just because you're well-meaning. You don't get a pass just because you think your entity honors God. And I hope all of that is true. I hope you are well-meaning. I hope the entity does honor God and your family, and you're doing all of this family business stuff for the glory of God. That's awesome, because I love Jesus and I love doing things in my life to glorify Him in that way. And my business is all about that. But don't think that's enough to keep you from failing. It's not. All right. I think I beat that one, that dead horse. So, all right, you have to make money first. Well, Christians can't be all about making money, or good people aren't all about making money. We got in this thing in the first place because we hate evil rich people. Well, that there's people with a big pile of bricks who are evil, and there's people who are big pile with a big pile of money who are evil, and there's people with a big pile of money that are really great, kind, loving people, more generous than you could ever imagine. And there's people with a big pile of bricks, and they're also very generous and kind and loving and help people. And so you can't just say people that make money are evil. And that if you go into it with the mentality that you have to make money first in order for the thing to prosper, be able to get up off the ground and get something done. You can't go into it with the mentality that says, oh, well, people with a bunch of money or people who are after money are evil because they're trying to get rich. And it's not. I've seen some of the most incredible acts of generosity happen through people who have massive amounts of wealth, and they give more in a year than most people give in a lifetime. And you're like, and you just look at that, and it's something that's legendary. But nobody who talks about it, nobody hears about it, and nobody sees it, which is exactly how they want it. And so go into this realizing that making money first for your entity is not an effort to be evil or to gather all this affluence to yourself. It's rather more, it's something that you're doing to create and build a legacy, a machine of operating entity that throws off profit again and again and again, and causes you to be able to have a lifelong legacy of helping other people. Because ultimately, if you look at the grand scheme of life, there's only one of you, and there's billions of other people. Billions. But there's only one of you. There's only one of me. So if there's only one of me, and there are billions of other people, it means life is about a lot more than just me here and I. And so take that home with you. All right. You must make a profitable reality to have a profitable future. If you want your business to succeed, if you want the family business to get up off the ground and start moving forwards, you must create a profitable reality. If you have never done that, you're not ready to start. If you sold 10 pieces of your thing and you barely made it, you barely broke even, but you're like, man, if I do this 100 times, then I could make some money. If you haven't made profit from your sales, you're not ready to start. You have to make a profit. You have to make margin on that, and it has to be enough to pay for all the expenses that you're going to be building into this business in the future. So, if you launch before you know how to create profit, you will increase your rate of failure exponentially, and you will cause the organization to fall and crumble and dead chicken in the sun, and it won't make it. And so, this masterclass today is about making that happen. What do you have to do in order to start making the money? All right. Hi, my name is Jason. But I'm the owner of Taika Translations, and me and my wife built this business from a card table in our living room to a multi-million-dollar company from absolutely nothing to from concept to multi-million dollar status in a period of 10 years. And it is the company that I own and operate today. I've been doing some stuff for this organization today, working on some different meet through some different meetings and tasks for the organization today, and I will do this, and I will do that after this masterclass that we have today. And so this is not theory for me. This is not, excuse me, this is not something that I learned on YouTube and I'm just sharing with you. This is something, this content that I'm talking about today, it is the content that works. It makes a difference in the heart, in the business. It actually has been tried and tested. And I have worked on this for the past 12 years now. Plus, beyond before that, I was an entrepreneur since I've been an entrepreneur since I've been 16 years old, and so I've shared. So all of that rolled into this experience of this into this masterclass today, where I'm sharing with you some of the most important things you need to know about owning and operating, running your family business. So I hope that really helps you understand that there is a greater amount of depth to this content than just another nut on YouTube saying jabbering and just kind of trying to shout from his rooftop. It's not that at all. This is the stuff that I do each and every day, and I'm sharing that with you. So if you would please like this channel and subscribe to the video and hit the notifications bell, and then go one step further and copy this link and share it with somebody, it would be greatly, I would so greatly appreciate that. It would help the algorithms check our information and distribute it to more people, get it up in front of more people, and that would help us to continue to grow this channel. Over the past few months, we've seen an incredible increase of views, and so if you're on this channel, or if you're on the video today and you're watching through whatever media platform, thank you so much for hanging out with us, and just liking, subscribing, and commenting on the videos. I really appreciate that. That means a lot to me and to the rest of the team. We've been working on this for about a year and a year now, consistently on this channel, and so it's really cool to see how the algorithm's starting to pick up the content and to distribute it in the marketplace. And so, if you're here, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. If you're watching us after after the live series goes out, maybe in the afternoon, maybe home from work, maybe you're hanging out at lunch and sitting in the truck or whatever, and you're just really trying to figure out how to own and operate and launch your family business, then, I applaud you. Thank you so much for joining us there as well. So, you're going to learn something in this master series, and if you didn't have the information within your in a way that you could use it, I hope that from these masterclass sessions, that you actually gain something from each and every one that you can take into your life and into your business, or maybe you just actually start the process of, and then work through the process of actually building that family business. My hope is that from the people who join this master class, that they actually launch their family businesses and they become multimillionaires because of some, and that some way that maybe I had a part in helping that person along the journey to get to that status. So that's really my heart and my hope behind this, and that's my background, so that and I hope that kind of clarifies and helps you understand uh, who I am, and a little bit more about how you can trust the information that I'm sharing with you today, because it comes from experience and it comes from a life lived in this space, and with seeing making some mistakes myself, seeing them made by others, and then making those iterations into my life, into our processes that actually cause a profitable reality. Um, a little bit more. Been married for 16 years. I have 8 children with the same wife. We have zero debt, and every single day, I I thank God for the incredible blessing to have the life that I have, and I hope that you can get that blessing too in your life. And so that's why I'm sharing this content with you today. All right, let's freaking rock! All right, How do we start selling something? Assumptions. You have an idea, product or service, or specialty thing that people need or buy. A specialty being, if you're a lawyer, if you're a doctor, if you're a physical therapist, or something like that. So you have an idea, product or service that people need to buy, and you already know that people need this thing. It's not a concept for you. It's not somewhere out there somewhere, maybe somewhere somehow. It's like, I actually have a thing. I know that people need and they want to buy this thing. So I'm just assuming that this is already a reality. So if a business does not meet a need, remember this very important principle. So many businesses forget, and sometimes they think that they are in business to make a profit. But the reality is, if your business does not meet a need or provides some sort of value to someone besides the owners in the business, it should and will go out of business. Okay? This is a very easily forgotten concept. As you work, as you do the thing, money is the lifeblood of the company, cash. But if you start to focus on the money rather than the thing that you're doing that serves humanity and makes this world a better place, all of a sudden you forget what the heck it is that a business does. A business, remember that analogy I gave earlier, that metaphor? There's one of you, and there are billions of others. If a business doesn't meet a need, or provide some sort of value, even if it's inspiration, even if it's songs, even if it's some sort of content or media, or maybe it's an actual physical a product or a service. And if it doesn't provide some sort of value to people and their lives other than yourself as the owner, it should and will ultimately fail. So I want you to get that around your heart more than anything else, because that very important principle will help you get through some of the ups and downs of your business. When sales are great, it helps you remind you that actually sales are great and you're here to help others still, even when sales are great. And when sales are bad, it helps you remember that it's not all about the sales. If we can just keep serving people and making the world a better place and provide a world class experience through the thing that we can do, that is enough. All right. So remember, this is a very important principle. Keep it in your back pocket, have it in your toolbox, make sure it's in the back of your mind as you look at your business and as you look at the sales and the cash and all of those other things as you work through the process. This must be a reality. Now, okay, I clicked it, it didn't move. All right. So the first thing we have to do if we're going to start selling anything in our family company, in our family multi-million dollar family business, if we are going to build a company that sells socks, or I don't know, sells, I don't know, maybe sell anything, whatever you can think of, just any product or service in the marketplace, we have to create who, and while we're creating that who we're selling to, we have to clarify our messaging. Now, I'm not going to go over a big class on clarifying your messaging because I think Dan Miller hits the nail on the head with his story brand content. Now, I don't get anything for promoting his content. I hope one day they pay me, but they don't. But I've never found a better system for creating clarity in your messaging around what it is that you sell. He talks about the hero in the story, making sure the client's the hero in the story. He talks about this incredible roadmap as to how to position yourself as a guide and help somebody understand the vision of the of your product, helping them create the reality in their life that they want ultimately, and about the whole process of creating that messaging. So while you're defining who you're going to be selling to, the first thing you have to do before you do that, you need to work on your messaging. Now, I recommend, I have it up on the screen, go to storybrand.com. Again, they don't sponsor me, they don't give me anything for this. It's just something that I want you to point you towards as you are building your family business. And if you use this messaging, it will help you make more sales. We use it in all of the content that we put out, in every single piece of gosh, uh, of anything that we post online. We have StoryBrand written in and through all of it, and at least the story brand methodology, and messaging written all throughout what we do. And if you want to get your messaging right, as you start understanding who you're going to be marketing to, then you need to go to storybrand.com, use their content. They've got a whole bunch of free stuff online. Like, they give you so much free stuff that you basically could do all the messaging without ever buying anything from them. However, I do recommend that you go buy the book. Buy their book. I think it's Storybrand 2.0 or whatever, and you will be so grateful that you did, because it will give you everything that you need to know about forming your messaging for your new clients. So as you're starting to work through building your company and starting to sell to people, then this will give you everything you need to know. So I just, as I was working through creating these slides the other day, I just realized that, you know what, there is somebody who does this way better than me. And if sit here and try to talk you through it, I will be doing you a disservice, because I think they do a way better job if you just consume a little bit of their content, buy their book, and then you work through the process that they have just completely free and available to you. You will be able to actually set up your messaging in a way that sells. So start by getting your messaging from there. And now let's start talking about who, and then we're going to talk about how. All right. So create client avatars. So these are basically client profiles. If you want to sell anything, you need to know who it is that buys it. Is it a government organization? Is it is it law firms? Is it are is Do hospitals buy your thing? And are the administrators in the hospital? Who specifically in these organizations buys your stuff? Is it somebody who owns a mom and pop shop? Is it somebody who owns a small business? Is it somebody who walk dogs? I don't know who it might be for your specific business, but first you have to make profiles of who buys your stuff. Now, s- um, if you've never sold the thing that you are working on selling, don't start your business until you've sold something first. You have to sell something, prove that it actually sells before you start. Don't put the cart before the horse, because if you do, you will find out way down the road that, wait a minute, this thing doesn't actually sell. And how in the world am I supposed to operate a business? Oops. And how in the world am Sorry, something popped up on my screen. Am I supposed to operate a business that isn't able to sell anything? So the first thing you have to do is create the client avatars. And this comes from, if you already have the concept. Remember, we talked about, my assumption is that you already have something a concept, a product, a service, or something specialty that you can sell, and then you're already in the process of doing this. Then it's very likely that you've already sold some stuff to the people in your life in the past. And so if you've sold stuff to them, then you already have your basic data, initial data for creating your client avatars. So creating the client avatars is part of the process skill set that you're going to need as you work through building your business. So selling your thing is a skill that, if you do not have, can and will sink your business. I can't emphasize this fact enough. I know it sounds obvious right now, maybe as you're watching this, but so many people, they are terrible at selling their thing, and they get into this business and they just hope it's going to work, and it's not. So create the client avatars. And while you're creating client avatars, like, this should take you pretty much a day, 6 hours. 6 hours, and you should be able to do enough research in that time to create the client avatars and set up your messaging. Okay. This is not 3 weeks. This is not a month. This is a day of really hard work, digging into data, digging into the history of your past, where you've been selling this thing that you sell, and then starting to set up profiles that talk about who your client avatars are, what they look like, are they male, are more of them male, are more of them female, what positions do they hold, what do they like, what are the things that they prefer, what kind of events do they like to attend, every single detail about their life that you can comprehend, and then how that connects to your product, or where your product fits into their life to actually make it better, then that is helps you understand your client profiles. And if you don't have any client profiles, then you have a really hard time selling stuff to them over many, many years and scaling your business. So, first thing, create the client avatars. And while you're creating client avatars, set up your messaging. To set up your messaging, go to storybrand.com and work through the content, the free content they have available by their book. And you'll be able to start working on building and selling to people with the right messaging, because you're contacting the right people who actually have a need for the thing that you need to sell, and you're able to get it in their hands in a way, and in a messaging, in a way where your messaging helps them understand that your product is the right product for them. Now, some more practical things in the area of making sure that you have what you need in your business in order to make sales. Now, on a very basic level, this is very bottom shelf, complete bottom shelf for the cookie jar. Create a list of the avatars that you have in an Excel spreadsheet, and this is called the list. Many people, many businesses, when they refer to the list, it's basically their entire client database of people who have ever purchased from them, ever. And over the years, this list is going to grow. If it's not that big at the beginning, it's fine. But the point is that you have to start with something. So start by creating an Excel list in Excel, or Google Sheets if you want, and start writing down all the clients who have ever purchased anything from you. And then start and put the avatars on a second sheet inside your Excel sheet, so that you can reference exactly what the client avatars that most purchase your stuff look like. And once you do that, you'll be able to make a correlation, and you'll be able to set up messaging that you learned how to do in storybrand.com to be able to connect with them at the right time in the right place, so that they receive your message and purchase your stuff. Now, you the list is the most basic sales and marketing element, and it is comprised of anybody who sold stuff, who you sold stuff to, that you're going to have to maintain a relationship with for as long as your business is in operation. Now, if people only buy stuff, that one thing that you sell one time ever in their life, that makes these things a little bit more difficult. But most products or services could be purchased multiple times by a single person or entity on that list. And so, if that's the case, uh, that list will be something, not something, or someone, a list of someone's that you will be connecting with again and again and again for the foreseeable future. You start with who you already know that buys what you sell, and you start working down, working to grow that list for any other possible candidates that you know in your life that might buy the thing that you're selling. Now, it's not a sometimes people feel a little bit like icky about it, because, like, well, these people bought, and these other people, like maybe in my Facebook profiles, they kind of, they might could buy my product, but I really am too embarrassed to try to sell it to them. And if you keep yourself in that position, and you never offer your services to everyone in your life who could possibly buy it from you, you're just limiting yourself. And I know it's like, oh, it's so cringe. I can't. I don't want to do that. I want to just make the offer, and don't be afraid of being rejected. So many times, the way, because honestly, because when you go through and actually market your product, you will have so many rejections for so many years, that if you're not used to that, you will fail just because of that. But if you realize that at some point in these people's lives, somewhere along the way, my product or service can help them make their life better, or solve a problem that they're dealing with, and you're withholding them being able to receive that, in my mind, it's like you withholding something good when you could have done good for someone. And I never want to do that. And I don't think you want to do that either. And so, if you could possibly do good for somebody and you have a solution that will really help them, and you got to leave it up to them to say yes or no. Like, you don't take that power into your own hand and say, "Well, it's just kind of cringe, and I don't want to deal with it, and I don't want to." No, tell them what you sell, and let them make that decision, and set up your messaging in a way that makes them the hero, and that casts a vision for how that product or service or whatever it is that you offer makes their life really great. And maybe they will buy your stuff, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, this is so great! People that care about me or know me buy my stuff." And honestly, that's the best people. Those are the best clients. The people who actually know you and love you the most. Many times are the best clients that you can have, because those relationships will stand the test of time. And it's very likely that those people will tell somebody else about what you do, and you'll have those referrals coming through them. So start with the list. Be basic: name, first name, last name, email, phone number, social media profile, whatever other data you have entered about them. And if they buy your product, make sure you have that written down, because you're going to have to start messaging them in a way that causes them to buy stuff, to buy your thing, because it helps them. All right. Now, how you reach them. And this really depends on who they are. Because if you're going to be reaching out to government organizations, you're going to have to run different campaigns. If you're going to be reaching out to mom and pop shops or small business owners, you're going to be having to have different messaging types, because they are very different in how you communicate. One is very stoic and professional, and the other one is maybe very laid back, relaxed, and has a much more free form of communication. So the key here is consistency. If you are not consistent in every aspect of your sales and marketing over time, you will not make sales. And I cannot emphasize this enough. Some people simply fail because they tried, it didn't work, and they just stopped because they thought, well, it didn't work, it will never work. And they succumb to this mentality of thinking that whatever they're doing isn't ever because somebody rejected them. Listen, in sales and marketing, rejection happens daily and all day long. And when you get sales, it's amazing, but it's a daily and all day long job, just effort. Some of the highest paid people in the world are salespeople, and they experience rejection constantly, but they just brush it off a lot like water off a duck's back, because they don't consider it as a failure. So many people consider when they put an outreach out there and it doesn't get just received, and just millions of purchases come through that one single outreach, and they get discouraged. But you can't allow that mentality to reign in your mind as you reach out and as you start to set up campaigns to start building relationships with your list. You've got your people on the list, you've got all the contact information, and you start your outreaches using the different campaign applications. So your messaging must be applicable, the timing must be correct, you must be consistent, and it will take way more time than you think. Doesn't happen immediately, doesn't happen right away. You will start marketing, and I've seen, gosh, over the years, I've seen people maybe a year into our messaging, into our relationship building with that particular list, where they actually come back and they're like, "Hey, you know what? I have an inquiry about the services you guys provide, because I just had a thing come up, and that service you have and that service that you provide is actually relevant to the thing. So could you provide me some more information, and could you help me with this?" We've been sending them emails like every week for 12 months already, and because it's been relevant, not invasive, not coming across the wrong way, but actually service oriented, and in the correct way that the messaging will help them understand that they are the hero and make their life better. Then uh, it takes time, lots and lots of time, and way more than you think. And so I want to really drive it home right now that as you start to do your outreaches, as you start to make efforts into building relationships with your list, that the I just people don't realize this enough, that if you just offer somebody to buy something and they say no, it might be like, "Not now." It might be, "This isn't the best timing. I really don't need that service or product right now, but somewhere in the future down the road, it's a possibility, but it's just kind of annoying right now." Like, there are so many different places in life that people are when you're sending them that messages. Maybe their dog got sick. Maybe their child's sick. Maybe their relationship struggling right now, or maybe just there's thousands of things that impact people as they receive your messaging, and sometimes it's has nothing to do with the product or service that you sell and whether or not they eventually will need it. It's simply not right for them right now. And they won't respond, they won't reply, they won't pick up your message, they won't do anything with it, but they'll see it and they'll just move on. But the fact that they saw it is already a small victory in your business life. And they didn't just like immediately remove me from your list, because you're there to serve. And they can feel that in your messaging. You're not there to sell, you're not there to make a big buck. You're there to serve, and you're there to help them. You're there to make your if, at some point when you're needed, make their when they need you, make their life better. And so that takes time, lots and lots of time. And so at the very beginning, you start building a relationship with this list that you have created. And then and you're basically, you start emailing them a couple times a week with information, or calling them one time a month. And this has to happen over a really, really long time. You just keep doing it day in and day out. That's what marketing and salespeople are all about. Marketing, like salespeople, they come in and they make 50 calls a day. And by the way, when somebody says, "No, I don't really need your service," they don't feel bad. They don't get discouraged, and they don't get overwhelmed, and they don't just get broken. Sometimes they call 50 calls a day and they don't make any sales for an entire week. Like, how would you feel? Just think about that for a second. How would you feel if you really worked hard, communicating to people, setting up the messaging, trying to help people and serve people, and you know the thing that you have is really helpful for people, but they just say, "No, I don't need it right now. I don't really need that service, or I don't need that product right now." And you do that week after week after week. But so many times, that's what it takes in marketing and sales to be able to move to that next sale. Not getting frustrated, not getting overwhelmed, allowing time, consistency, and the applicability of your product for their life at the right time in the right place to be able to be received. So I think all of that gets overlooked far too often, and people get discouraged and I think almost it's because some people are too prideful. They think, "Well, I'm way better than at selling stuff than you think you actually really than you actually really are." And they think that selling stuff is actually kind of about manipulating somebody to get something. And it has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with meeting people's needs, and almost nothing to do with your ability to manipulate somebody into a sale. So if you have that mentality about selling and about and the marketing, I hope you repent of that and kind of convert over to thinking in the right direction, to where you're actually in the business to serve and to meet somebody's need at a particular moment and just be available for them when that moment arrives. But more than anything else, you have to be consistent and stay at it, because if you don't, your business and your marketing program and your sales program, it won't make it. And when you hire people, I think setting that expectation for people and helping them understand that you're working through selling this thing, and these are some of the experience that you have had selling is like, maybe you have to email 20,000 personal touch point emails to somebody in order to be able to make a first sale. You're like, "Did you just say 20,000? It might take 20,000. Like, where do you even freaking get 20,000 people?" That's what sales and marketing is, a ton of freaking work. And you have to go out and do it. I remember a story from one entrepreneur as he was weightlifting business, not weightlifting, physical fitness weightlifting business. and he was talking to a mentor, and the mentor was telling him how to get clients. And so he went to talk to the mentor about getting clients, and as he was talking to him, it's like, okay, well, you need to make some flyers, and then it's like, what we do is we go and distribute the flyers on people's cars, and I don't know if it's legal or illegal where you are, and maybe I'm not saying that you should go do it, but anyways, this is just a story for story purposes, okay? And it's a real life story. So they would go put the flyers on people's cars in a certain area wherever their gym was, and he was trying to get people to show up to the gym, and so. Um, After 2 weeks, he comes back to his mentor and he's talking to him. He's like, "Yeah, I did the thing, and the only thing I got was one angry phone call from somebody who was mad because I put the flyer on his Mercedes." And it's like, "Oh, you didn't have any results at all?" He's like, "Well, that was it." It's like, "Okay, so what was your test batch?" He was like, "Well, what do you mean test batch?" He's like, "I just made 2,000 flyers and I went and put them out." And he was like, "Ah." Because the mentor understood something that this young entrepreneur did not. And that is, he's like, okay, young entrepreneur here. Um, so my test batch is 25,000 flyers. So I test with 25,000. And then after I do 25,000 of those, I go and I do 20,000 a day for 2 weeks after I've tested which one of those gets the best result. And he's like, oh, that is way, way more than I realized it was going to take to be able to get those sales or get those people coming in the door. And so that's what I want you to understand with this. You find out who, you get your messaging set up, and then you create a system that's very consistent that outreaches and connects with those clients. And you don't get discouraged when people don't respond the exact way you would like them to respond by the time you would like them to respond. You just keep at it. Selling stuff is a full contact sport. I was just talking to my the head of sales this week. He said, selling is a full contact sport. Whoever makes the most connections with real human client avatars, with real humans, gets the most wins. And I can't think of a more applicable reminder, because as you work through doing sales and reaching out to people, if you're not consistent and you're not showing up in an applicable way for a long period of time, at the moment when they need you, you're not going to make the sales. But the person and the company who does that and who doesn't get discouraged and who just keeps at it, even with mediocre messaging, but he's just freaking being consistent, or she is, they're the ones who make the wins. And so, things to know. Some people think or want to make the excuse that every market is I mean, that their market is some in particular is saturated. I'm sorry, Karina, are you trying to get my attention here? No? Okay. If you are, send me a message in the private chat, because I just saw a message pop up on the screen. Um, but some people think that their market is specific and somehow more special than everybody else's market, in that it's just saturated. Like a question on the screen. Any tips to counter back the rejection and gain chances to close the deal again? Um, I'm going to come to that in just a second, but let me finish the point on saturation. But thank you very much for popping that up on the screen, and I will come back to this. You can just leave it on the screen. Um, so every market is saturated. That's the message I want you to know. So don't use that as an excuse for you not being able to win. It is so much harder to do sales and marketing than you actually think. It's so much harder to sell than people actually realize, that once they encounter the work that's actually required to facilitate a process, to facilitate a deal, once they encounter that maybe growth curve that they have to make personally, to enable themselves to be able to make those sales, um, they quit. Most people do quit in this area, and they don't realize that it takes more time, it costs more, it costs you more, and you're not the exception. So this is not like everything's bad and you can't do it. What I'm saying is you can do it, and don't give up. Just keep charging, keep improving, keep getting better, keep improving your messaging, keep becoming more relevant, keep showing up in a way that attracts the clients, and keep contacting more people. If you contacted 500 people and nobody wanted your thing, you haven't even begun to scratch the surface. Once you've contacted 500,000 people, then we have something to talk about. You're like, how do I find 500,000 people? Well, that's part of the work. That's part of the work you have to do. So it's identifying your client avatars, finding out where they hang out, doing data research, marketing, like no, businesses. We have marketing research departments where the entire department is devoted to doing marketing research, where you research those client avatars, where they hang out, and how you can get your messaging to them in a way that's relevant, consistent, and provides for that need that they have. And it's millions of dollars that are spent on this marketing research. And so I want you to like even just take out your credit card. If you have a credit card or debit card in your wallet, that company that provides that credit card, they do billions of dollars of research on you and on me. I don't have any credit cards, but anyways, if you have a credit card, they do it on you. They do billions of dollars of marketing research per year to figure out how to make those messages relevant for you and get in front of your face in a way that attracts you to them. And I mean, I don't remember, I don't if you remember the Capital One commercials, but way back they used to make these Capital One commercials where this big evil monster was tearing down the house, and then there was this guy that popped up and he's like, "Don't worry, card," and then the monster kind of goes back and leaves, or the big band of Vikings or whatever. Anyways, it was a long time ago, but I used to like those commercials, but they do billions of dollars of research because they know and they find out what works, what resonates with you, and what attracts you to them. And so they say, "Oh, we create safety for people whose lives are dangerous." And then you have that relationship like, "Oh, well, these guys create a safe environment for me, so I better go get their thing." And so all of a sudden, um, you somehow are attached to their brand, and you don't realize that they've been marketing to you all along in different capacities, in different messaging systems, and almost every place you go, because they know where you go, they know what you like, and they know what kind of content that you consume that will help you be more inclined to purchase their product. And so, if you have a small business at the start, you have to do all of this stuff on your own. And now you sit back and you think, "Man, is that what running a business is about?" And honestly, I don't know. I mean, I wish somebody would have told me that in the beginning, because it would have helped me be prepared for that once I encountered it. Because once I actually encountered how much work is involved in that, it was kind of depressing at the beginning until you kind of I got through that phase and be like, okay, okay, it is a reality, but it's not only a reality for me, it's a reality for every business. And if that is if that is the case, then uh that means that the plane is equal. We're playing on the same playing field. And so that kind of helps you to give some perspective and to be prepared, and to kind of have the strength to keep going. All right. So now back to the question on the screen. Thank you very much for bringing me back to that question, Karina. I just wanted to make sure I got a comprehensive reply. A comprehensive explanation of that slide. All right. Any tips to counter back the rejection and gain chances to close a deal again? I want to remind you from the very beginning, from one of the very beginning slides that I just spoke about. You don't ever try to sell something to somebody who doesn't need the thing you sell. Okay. If they don't need it and you're trying to sell it to them for your own personal gain, that becomes manipulative, kind of forceful, and you kind of start to stink. Okay. So I'm not saying that's you, but I want to kind of remind the seller, if you're trying to make a sale, then first and foremost, identifying that these people actually need the thing that you have to sell, and that you're not just showing up in annoying in a very aggressive way that doesn't meet their need or make them the hero. So the best chance that you have when you're trying to close a deal a second time around is to create the messaging where your client is the hero and help them to see the vision of how them purchasing your thing achieves that outcome in their life, achieves that greater, more prosperous, more easier life, or whatever it is that your product or service does. I don't know what your product or service does, but whatever it does for people to help them to deliver your message to those people in a way that that helps them to see that once they have the thing that you sell in a very non-aggressive, non-invasive way, and they actually need that thing, that it makes their life better, and they're the hero because they purchase it from you. Now when you can get your messaging like that, then the sale goes much, much smoother. And that's how you can revert back to and make the sale, even though maybe the first or second time, or even the first 10 times it was rejected. I know, uh, if you know that this people buy your stuff and you know that they are definitely a potential client for your thing, just realize that your timing may be slightly off, but if you get your messaging right using the story brand messaging that I provided earlier, just go to storybrand.com and you can start working through getting the messaging right. And you can get them to see that messaging and realize that your product provides them creating that vision of success or or comfort or excellence or whatever the thing it is that your product does in their life, and then buying from you makes them a hero, then you have a much better chance of being able to close the deal. So, um, if somebody's giving you a hard rejection, it might not be that that uh, they it might just be that they don't need your product. That's what I was trying to say. It might simply be that they absolutely don't need your product, and in that case, you're doing them a disservice if you're trying to sell them something. Make sure they actually need your product and that they actually purchase that, or have a need to purchase it, and then you can work through the sale goes much, much, much more naturally using the correct messaging system. And that you can find at storybrand.com. Again, I am not affiliated with them in any way. I just consume their content, I use it in my business, and it's helped us in very, very big ways to help facilitate more sales. And so, if you want to make more sales and have a better chance of closing a deal a second time around, make sure your messaging is relevant. You're making the client the hero, that they actually have a need for the product that you're selling, not just you have a need for them to buy it, and that they are a hero as and they see the vision of that as they make their life better from purchasing that thing from you. So use the story brand method messaging, and that will help you. Okay, I've answered that question, I think, effectively. Now let's continue on. If there are any other questions, please feel free to throw them in the chat. Okay, goodness. Start connecting to your avatars where they are. Don't try to force them to where you are, but you try to start connecting with them where they are. Now, this is email campaigns, this is phone calls and text, email, but back to email campaigns. You can be very, very simple or very, very complex. As the list grows, and once you have thousands and hundreds and thousands of millions of people on that list, then obviously you're going to need to get into some very complex systems. We have some very complex systems in ours to be able to help us stay connected and manage all of our contacts. So from the email campaign side, that's where that list starts, and that's where you just start going down the list and start talking to people and talking to them all day long at first when you're trying to make all of those sales and being consistent. But then you're going to have to migrate until you have a tool that has all kind of AI integrations and helpful implementations that will cause you to be able to massively reach out to many, many different people with very, very client centralized messaging, and very story branded type messaging, so that you can actually reach all of them. Because as you scale your business, you don't just email people one by one anymore. You have to you're going to have to email people in the thousands and hundreds of thousands to continue to maintain it at that level and to continue growing, because that list that you have, it starts very, very small, like maybe there's 100 people on it, but eventually those lists turns into maybe multiple lists and hundreds and thousands of people that you're reaching out to on a continual basis. Now, that's a few years down the road. If you're just starting out, don't worry. You'll get there eventually. That's not a big deal. And I don't want you to get discouraged and overwhelmed by that. That's why I'm trying to make it as basic as possible in building a multi-million dollar business. Basically, you start out with the list, you start populating that, and that list grows throughout your entire lifetime of your business. But your relationship with that list must grow all along the way, and you must be consistently connecting and communicating with those. Otherwise, you cause your business to be stifled, and you will not be able to move forwards, and you'll not be able to make the sales consistently like you'd like to. So, phone calls and text. Now, if you so many people are afraid of making calls. And actually, I hate making calls. I really don't like calling people on the phone. I'd rather text, I'd rather do a WhatsApp, I'd rather send a voice message, whatever. Many of your clients are the same way. So find out what methodology they like to be communicated with. Maybe they like the DM on on Facebook. Maybe they like a WhatsApp message. Maybe they like the bobblehead video or something, and communicate them within that way. And so as you grow your list, you can also separate your list out into people, into categories, how people like to be communicated with, and make sure you're connecting, communicating with them in that way. And how do you know how they like to be communicated with? What way they respond. If you try, you have to try a few different methodologies at first. And once you find out how they like being communicated with, that's the method you use to communicate with them. And you make sure and they're in a list where you can actually identify they like to be called. Maybe like I don't want date anybody. I don't want to put anybody in a date in a age category here, but typically more experienced generations like to be called. They like to pick up the phone and talk to somebody. And uh, more recent generations, they like to be communicated with via some other electronic or social media methodology. So just keep that in mind. Make sure you're meeting your avatars where they are, how they want to be communicated with, and what they respond to most. And so this will be very helpful as you build your lists out and as you communicate with people. Now, don't don't diss the visits in person or online. The most impactful way you can build relationships with people is in person, and the second is a virtual meeting. Okay. You can do a lot of relationships building with clients in virtual meetings. And that's really, really cool, really, really helpful, because you can see, hear, can't touch each other, but you can see and hear each other. So, and as you work through contacting your clients, some of them will have these different ways of wanting to be communicated with. And your job as a business owner who's selling the thing that you sell is to identify how those people in those different categories like to be communicated with. And so if they like to be visited in person, make sure you show up or have your salesperson show up in person and talk to them and actually, uh, you know, bring them something memorable so that they think about you once in a while. So email, phone calls, text, visits in person. And then, by the way, these all cost more than anything else. These top three, they cost your time. And that's why I listed them first, because as a small business owner, you might not have a lot of resources to be able to um, spend a lot of money on all the actual ad campaign stuff. So you're going to have to start out with the basic thing, which is just contacting people where they are, how they want to be contacted with. And that is free, except it costs your time. And when you're small, you've got a lot more time than you have money. So use that time to reach out to people and make connections. And then there's ad campaigns. And then even further, there's conferences. And those cost money. So if you're going to be attending ads, if you're going to be attending conferences, which is an amazing place to do in-person meetings with people, um, and running ad campaigns, that just costs a lot more money. So that's why these two are on the end of, show up where your client avatars are. But first, make sure you're utilizing all of the free, except it costs your time, marketing and sales that you have available to you, using the right messaging, using the right avatars, and the right communication methodology that they want you to communicate with them with. All right. Now, I know this is going a little long, but sales is a big deal. And if you get it right, you can make millions. If you don't and you give up and you just jump off ship because you couldn't hack it, well, then you don't deserve to be in business anyways because it's tough. I know it's tough. I know it sucks. I know it's a lot of stuff. I know it's a lot of hard information to implement. But if you're going to operate a multi-million dollar family business successfully over many years, like I do, then you're going to have to get this stuff and make sure it's working consistently in your business over a long period of time. So listen up, build a face. What do I mean by that? When you send an email out to people and they see that email, hi, my name is Joe. I see you purchase this. I sell this. This is how it would look if you had purchased that from us. Would you like to purchase this? Oh, what does Joe do? Oh, go to joe.com or whatever the website is. It's probably a real website, joe.com, but I don't know. I've never been there. Anyways, go to Joe's website or Susie's website, susie.com. Right. And then you go there and you look at their website. Oh, they don't have a website, or their website looks crazy, or there's zero presence online whatsoever. They're just going to throw you out and not buy anything from you whatsoever because they don't trust you. They get 1,000 emails a day from many different service providers for a thing that they're buying, and those people actually have an online website. They have social media profiles, and they can see their face. So, what does that mean for you? That means you need to build a face. What does that mean? Build a website, build a Google page, especially a Google page. Make sure you build a Google page. Do social media profiles everywhere on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, blah 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 blah. The list goes down. There's like 30 of them now. When I started this, there was like three, and now there's like 30. And you have to have a profile everywhere. So build your face. This doesn't take money; it takes time. And so I, I realize how that sounds. The other thing took more time. Like the emailing and contacting, and outreaching to people takes more time than you have. But then in addition to that, I have to build a face. This takes more time than you have. Yeah. If you want to build a business and you actually want to build $1 million business that works and stands the test of time, this is what you do. You spend all of your time making sure these are a reality so that when you make an outreach to somebody, that you've done your due diligence to serve them well by helping them understand that they can trust you because you have put your face online very clearly and with great messaging, with great graphics and very clear messaging systems, so where they can just very easily go and become the hero in the story and buy the thing that they need from you. And if you don't have this stuff online, they won't trust you. And businesses grow by the speed at which the people in the marketplace who need their stuff trust them. And if your business doesn't have it doesn't have a face in the marketplace that people can trust, latch on to, interact with, they're not going to trust it, and you're going to be slowing that growth down. So, if you want to build a multi-million dollar company, then you're going to have a website, Google page, and social media profiles on every single platform. Now, I'm not saying you have to be active on every single platform right now, because there's tons of work that has to be done at this stage when you're just opening and starting to operate your company. But the thing that you need to know is that if you don't have social media faces and you haven't done due diligence to get out there and at least make some kind of content online to where you look presentable, you look professional, and that when somebody purchases something from you, that they can guarantee that they're going to get the value out of their money that they spend with you, then if you haven't done all of that, then you really haven't earned people's business yet. And so, if you want to create a business that's going to be able to scale, then you have to have your content on all these platforms. Now, content creation. Content creation. I'm creating content right now, right? That's one of my key roles in our company. I create content almost every single day. If I don't create it every single day, it's like every other day. But content creation for your business is going to be one of your greatest advertising tools that you can ever have in your business. And if you, there are so many different platforms out there, it makes it super, super, super easy to post and be online in some way, shape, or form every single day. Now, once you scale your operations, and you can get online in many different platforms in a single day, and make sure you're posting on all of those every single day. The momentum, the momentum really, really builds, and you start to get more and more interactions across many different platforms. But the main idea here is, first of all, you have to have a face. You have to have social media profiles on all the social media platforms. It's especially if you know any of your clients frequent that platform, make sure you're there. And if I have any advice to the person who's just starting out, make sure you have all the social platforms completely filled out and completely registered for, really looking nice, and a way to actually reach out and contact you. And then find the one that your clients come from the most, and just make sure on that one that you're doing something every day. Don't try to do them all at first. Just try to do on the one that your clients are most frequent, and then start with that one, and you can grow from there. The most marketed to culture in the world is Americans. Like, there's not been a culture more marketed to than the American culture, I think, in the history of man. And you have to be resilient. You have to show up everywhere and be resilient and consistent. All right. Create your system of selling. Guys, we're getting close to the end here, and I just want to kind of give you some hope because it's getting really long. This is actually way longer than I thought it was going to be. After you put your online profiles, after you start outreaching to people, after you're doing your phones and your phone calls and your emails and your texts, and you're actually getting some sales coming through, create a roadmap for selling. If you don't have a roadmap for selling and you don't know how you sell your stuff to people, then you won't be able to analyze and improve. You have to be able to look at the way you sell stuff and adapt and change that to make sure you're meeting the needs of the client, meeting them how they need to be sold to, and adapting. How could I have done this point better? How could I have made that outreach better? How could I have decreased the timeline between when the conversation started with the client and when they actually purchased? How can I make a sales funnel online that actually provides the messaging required to be able just make a purchase right away? Like, you have to have a system of selling, and that system needs to be documented so that you know what steps you go through as you make a sale. Now, that might be very dynamic if you have a product or production based business, like I have on our production, digital production team. They have different ways that they process or build out or serve a client. And so there are different ways that we have to work through selling that client and the thing that we sell. But the main point is that you have to be able to have a roadmap that you have documented for the different ways that you sell the thing so that you can improve upon that as you grow your business. Because if you don't have anything documented and written down, if you don't have a system of selling, then you won't be able to analyze it and improve it. So want you to make sure that you actually have this written down and that you actually review this on a weekly basis so that you can make those improvements that cause you to make more money. All right, referrals. Once you've sold something to somebody, ask them for a referral. Hey, it's been great talking to you today. Great serving you today. Sorry. Would you do you know anybody? Like, can you give me two names of people that I can actually reach out to that need the thing that I sell? And you would be amazed if they're super happy with the thing that you just sold them, who they might be able to refer you to. And then you can reach out to those people and say, hey, so and so said, you might be interested in this product. I sell this product. They just bought this from me. Would you like some? Or would you like one? Or can I serve you with this service? And boom, you can make a sale so much faster and easier with that outreach. And I want to make sure you actually get that, because if you take and use that referral system in your system of selling, and that's part of your process, you have so much better success. Now, reviews. Every time you sell something to any client ever, ask them to make a review on your Google profile. Ask them to go to your profile and make a review, because um, if you don't, you will miss out on an opportunity to have somebody else helping you advertise. So just set up the system where you can get your link from your Google page and send people to your Google page and help and get a review. Now, constantly review and improve the system, and make sure that this roadmap is in place for you to be able to to make those referrals, reviews, and those implementations happen in your selling system. The business that wins is the ones that connect with the most buyers the most often in a way that facilitates the purchase of what you sell in a way that makes them happy that they bought from you. You met a need, you've made their life better, they're the hero in the story, and you are a guide along the way that facilitated them making life in their world better. Guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me during this session. Again, I really appreciate you sticking it out with me. If you've been here for this whole session today, it's been a long one, and I hope that you've got some really, really important value out of it. And I know that this kind of lends to a lot of work, which is why my very next session is how and when to bring in help for your company. And so I really hope you don't miss it, because very, very soon after you launch your little business, your little dream, your little thing that's going to facilitate this vision that you have for your life, for your family, for your legacy in the future, you're going to find out it's way more work than you thought. And so I want to help kind of alleviate when and how to bring in help. So that's why next week the masterclass is going to be on exactly that. We're going to be finding out how to hire and when to hire as you're building your small business. And I hope you'll join me there, because it's a very, very important session, and it will, that's the session that will actually make your life a lot better. Okay, you have to deal with people, and that makes things a little bit harder. But at the same time, um, you get to do a little bit less. You get to spread out the tasks that must be done to more people, and many hands, like the Bible says, make lighter work. So I really hope you join me there. It's going to be a very, very, very important session, and it's one of the most important lessons that I learned in business, and that my wife and I made an implementation of that changed our life for the better for the long term. So don't miss it. Many business owners get stuck here, or they get afraid of being able to move through it, and I hope that I can help be a guide to help you get to where you need to go by helping you to know when and how to bring on great help. So thank you again for joining me for this session. I really hope it was super high value, and that maybe you learned something that will help your business to prosper over the long term. I hope you didn't get discouraged. I do want you to know it's a lot of work, but it's definitely worth it if you make the investment over the long term. Thanks again, and I will see you next week at 8:30 Central, 9:30 Eastern.